You know, this is an era of spectacular progress, particularly in bringing the good things of life to more and more people.
And from their talks was forged a map of the path to freedom, a compact for the future, for the future, for the future. A map of the path to freedom.
Curtis, what are those two little things on the top of your device? They look really funny.
These things?
Yeah.
It's a internal microphone.
Oh, really cool.
It can take external mics, but then if you don't have that, you can literally just record with this thing.
Nice.
Which is really helpful. All right, guys, we're going. Would you like to hear some offensively good news?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about dreams today, and in lieu of that, have you guys heard about the Muslim world dreaming of the man in white?
Yeah.
Okay, so specific story regarding that. Apparently, more Christians have come to Jesus in the last 10 years, or more Muslims, have come to Jesus in the last 10 years than in the last 14 centuries.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years,
Through
than
the
in the last
prophetic.
14 centuries through
Wow.
dreams and visions. 80% of that is Muslims dreaming of a man in white, a glowing man, who comes to them in their dreams.
Wow.
So this specific story, this guy's name was Hamid. He grew up in a traditional Muslim family, and he was moving to Arabia to take a government job. When he did, he had this dream where he was being buried by sand. Like he fell down a pit and was stuck in this pit and was being buried by sand. And then this man in white came to him and reached down to give him help and pull him out, and he refused it twice. Two times he came. Jesus came, tried to pull him out of the pit, and he refused. And then the third time he said yes. And he pulled him out of the pit, and he said, "Follow me." And he doesn't know it's Jesus at this point. But he goes to his new government job, and he knows that one of the guys is like a nominal Christian. However, he tells the guy, like, "Hey, do you think this was Jesus?" He asks him, "Do you think this was Jesus in my dream?" And he was like, "I'm not sure. Let me think about it." And then he went and told the Arabian government that this guy was questioning his Muslim faith, and they give cash like rewards to rat people out if someone is turning from their Muslim faith. So they sent him to prison. They sent Hamid to prison.
Just after the dream.
After the dream.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, poor guy.
They send him to prison. He's in prison 2 years. And which he develops an infection in one of his limbs, and they think they need to amputate one of his limbs. So then miraculously, this European doctor just happens to be like, I don't know, passing through the prison. I don't know how it all worked out. But he looked at him and was like, "No, we can give you this medicine, this medicine, this medicine." And he ended up being healed, like he was fine. And then after that, he gave his life to Jesus.
Wow. So in that 2 years,
in prison, he was on the fence.
Oh my.
He was like processing it and like wasn't sure what he needed to do. But after that, it was just this miracle moment of like the Lord provided for me. And they changed his name and the testimony and all this stuff, but so good.
Wow.
So we're going to talk about dream interpretation. Something specifically that I'm excited about. Last time for people who didn't hear our first podcast on night visions, dreams, prophetic revelation at night, you have to go listen to that. That's kind of the foundation that's the springboard for everything that we're going to be talking about today. But within that, I feel like something I'm really excited about is salvation encounter dreams. Like Pharaoh dreamt. Pharaoh was dreaming, and then Joseph came in at the appointed time to deliver an entire nation and had all this like favor with Pharaoh because he was dreaming. Pharaoh was dreaming God dreams, totally unsaved, idol worshiper leading the most brutal, enslaving nation ever. And I feel like those types of dreams are something we're going to start to see more and more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
It's good.
yeah. So tell me, dream interpretation, how do you do it? What's your process?
Well, you read a book, then it doesn't make sense. No, I'm kidding. There is actually a really good book we recommend. I think it's through Bethel Church that was a good foundation. I
Okay.
could get the name so you could link it. It's really good. Bethel recommends it as a great start
Cool, I
for
haven't heard of it.
dream interpretation. So we have that at home.
Okay.
That opened our mind to some of the different ways that symbolism happens in dreams and got us away from just literal thinking, I would say,
Okay.
a little more. And then showed even like patterns and what patterns mean. And
Okay.
it was a really good guide. And I feel like Chet dived in a little deeper than I did in that. I feel like he has real grace for it. So
Unpack that a little bit. What do you mean when you say literal, like steering away from literal interpretation?
Well, it might. I mean, you might have a dream where there's representation involved.
Right.
You know, like you might be driving your van down the road with your family, and it might not represent that. Okay, you're driving your van. It might mean your life is driving. Your ministry is driving down the road, or you get sidetracked.
It's a parable.
Yeah, like Sherri had a dream for me where I was stuck in the mud. I wasn't physically stuck in the mud in real life, but figuratively, there was a place in my life where I was stuck in the mud. I needed to get out.
Wow.
Or get out before I got stuck.
Gotcha.
So things like that happens all the time. I mean, we just had another one very recently where there was a name involved, and in this situation there was a name. It was a dog name
of a pet, yeah.
and I I didn't listen at first. I didn't put it together.
So you had
in
a
my
dream
mind.
about a dog name.
2 or 3
Yeah.
dreams of
And
okay.
I didn't.
of the dog.
And the dog. Well, I just thought it was something I just couldn't figure out. So I didn't spend time. I didn't spend enough time with the Lord on it.
Yeah.
In retrospect, after losing some money, to be really honest, after losing some money, I went back and now it all made sense that it was actually the name of the dog that was really important, and
Wow.
I didn't pay attention to it, or I didn't take enough time with the Lord for Him to clue me in.
Okay.
So there's sometimes that name representation that goes on. I know even Sean Boltz talks about that with prophetic words during the daytime, but we've got that at night.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I think sometimes too it's actually simpler than you think.
Yeah.
So if you cannot overthink it, I feel like then it's like, oh snap, that's hilarious. Like it's actually kind of funny what God does. And you're like, oh, name association, and then what was this pet doing? How do I feel around it? So you look at you bring into context what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's some of that book which curves the link, but there is that. Okay, what's the context? What are you going through in life? Because sometimes we dream about what we are going through in life, and sometimes in the past I used to shrug that off and say, well, I was just thinking about that, so of course I had the dream. But sometimes God speaks in our real life circumstances with what we are going through. So what's the context? What are you going through? And also, what's the emotion in the dream?
Yeah.
Is another way we try to think through interpretation.
Yeah.
So what are you going through? What are you feeling in the dream? Sometimes that's another clue to the direction. So context and emotion are different things that we look at. That's
good. I think something for me that I'm starting to really understand. I've had a really awesome month of dreaming. Like literal sentences from audible voices type stuff, and encounters, and very just revelatory. There's been a real swirl, and I believe for that all the time. Like that's what I think is our inheritance, right?
Yeah.
But something that I'm starting to really pick up on and I think see is, one, the parabolic nature of dreams. So I think a huge key is go read every parable in the Bible. Go read every dream in the Bible. Go read every encounter in the Bible, because I feel like heaven has a certain language and a flow and an understanding, and it's like 1 Corinthians talks about the wisdom of the of this world versus the wisdom of God, and how Jesus has become unto us wisdom from God. And so there's a worldly wisdom, even in dream interpretation. I mean, there's all sorts of like secular books about dream interpretation that probably have a measure of truth, but pale in comparison to like God's wisdom. And the crazy thing is like, not that a dream becomes like the same authority or inspiration as like the word or something, but when you're having a God dream, you're being taught a parable by Jesus.
Yeah.
And the importance within that of word association. So here's a couple examples. So this is actually a huge key for me right now. And how do I unpack interpretation? Because I'm frustrated like 50% of the time in my own life of like, I have this amazing dream. I know it was from the Lord. I know he's speaking to me, and I cannot figure out what the heck it means. And so I'm just wrestling through that. But word association, 2 examples. Sean Bowles tells a story about how he was having all these dreams, the same dream over and over and over again, about him eating yogurt. He doesn't like yogurt in the natural. He doesn't enjoy it. He thinks it's kind of gross, but on all these dreams, he's eating yogurt. And he's praying, God, what in the world, what are you saying? And he's frustrated too, which makes me feel encouraged. And so he ends up going to Bob Jones. How nice it is when you can just call, the prophet of prophets. Calls up Bob, and he's like, hey, Bob, I keep having this dream where I'm eating yogurt. And Bob says, oh, yeah. It means you're going to impart living cultures through your words.
Yeah, that's perfect.
How in plain sight is that?
Yeah.
It's that like you're going to impart living cultures through your words.
Okay, and the key is that he called someone. Sometimes it's so good to run it by somebody.
That's huge, because I'll tell my dream to my wife, and it'll be like glaring right there, and I can't see it for whatever reason. No. So that's actually, I think, a huge key of like, bring it to community, bring it to people that also hear the Lord.
Yeah.
Second example, my friend Alex, who I'm flipping a house for right now, helping him with his house flip. They just moved up to El Dorado Hills, and they were down a little further south, like 2 hours, driving like an hour and a half, 2 hours to Jesus Culture every Sunday. They just, an amazing family. But he had a dream about a tornado, and I won't go into all the details, but him and his family were like kind of driving through a tornado, and it had this symbolism of them actually like moving. They were moving from one location to another. And I think at that point they had put house flipping on the shelf, and in the dream he sees a house flipping through the air. And so he's telling the dream to his wife Katie, and Katie was like, house flipping. And do you see how simple it is?
Yeah. Remember when Banning made that reference about the new building, and they couldn't figure out the interpretation of what the buck meant in front of the building?
No,
the new
I didn't
church
hear
building.
that.
He preached about it.
Okay.
And they were he was like, I don't know what the interpretation of this. There was a buck in front of the building, and I think it was Becky Johnson who was like, big bucks,
Oh my God.
Like big dollars. It wasn't the deer. It was.
It's a faith call to prayer for this, call of action for our finding home.
Wow.
So, but somebody can just see it just so fun and literally and just like it becomes really fun because you're inviting someone in, and it changes the experience for you and for them.
Totally. Real quick, final thing on top of this. Cause I'm just so I feel like it's such a key because we do overcomplicate it.
Oh yeah.
Like I think we try so hard to hear some revelatory, like God's audible inner voice, speaking the exact, scripture reference and all this stuff. When I think it's way more, it's just way easier than that. I had a dream 2 or 3 weeks ago, where in the dream, this is just so awesome. I love when the Lord teaches and pulls things apart like this. In the dream, I saw the Lord taught me how to diagram a dream in my dream.
Really?
So I saw in my dream, I saw this like oval, this huge, like, and it was colorful, this big, colorful, like oval. And then within that were all these subcomponents of the dream. So the oval was one dream. And then within that, there was multiple little ovals and arrows and lines and like connections and all these little things. And so I've been doing that, and it's actually really helpful. I feel like it's a practical thing of whittling a dream down to its simplest form, because I think you can get lost in the details. What does the yellow frog mean? You know what I mean? Like, what does the spiraling like hula dancer over there, like what random stuff when you can I think you can break a dream down into its like main components. John Paul Jackson talks about that as well. Like breaking a dream down into like if you didn't have this part of the dream, then it wouldn't exist. Right. So that is like what kind of the center of it is, and then there's subcomponents. And so I don't know. I interrupted you.
No, it's good.
No, that's great. I was just gonna agree with what you said before about community. So even in our lives personally, I don't know if you guys covered this on the last podcast, but like we've had in one area of our life, we've had significant dreams, but then in the area of timing, it was like so helpful to bring that to community and bring that to people we trust and love. So that was a huge part for us, that in our dreams, some things seemed really clear, but then there was timing issues that were really brought about more in community.
And it took the weight off of us, feeling like we had to nail the timing.
Wow.
So that was huge for us personally, and I think that sometimes God will give you clues in a dream that'll be complementary to something you'll get in community, or vice versa. So I think it works both ways, but you've always got to have both represented. Your personal listening and the listening with others.
Timing. That's a huge thing. How do you guys do that? How do you discern that? Community. But what's your process there?
I feel like experience too. Like, how has God spoke to me in my dreams in the past? How has God spoke to Chet in his dreams in the past? Mine tend to be sometimes shorter, more to the point, a little more literal. Okay. And Chet's are often the longer, like where there's scenes in a dream. Okay. Multiple scenes. Okay. Symbolism that makes it a little more like, oh, this feels random, So I feel like maybe he has more complex dreams than I do. Okay. So I feel like it's like, okay, if we look back at how God spoke in the past, what does timing look like when he's used timing with me? What does it look like for you? How literal is it? How, so maybe also just recognizing how God's language has been in your dreams in the past. And sometimes for me, timing's been very literal. And then for Chet, I feel like it's been a lot about, do you feel like it's been a lot about a step of obedience and then he reveals more? It feels like there's actually been a pattern of that.
Interesting. So there's like a personal history with God element.
That's a good,
of figuring out how he's interacting and speaking with you. That's why I have a little bit of criticism or like maybe a healthy judgment toward Googling everything.
Oh yeah.
In a dream,
we don't.
Because I mean that can be actually super helpful, and the Lord's totally used that in my own life. But the like, this always means this, and this thing always means this, and this color always means this. It's like that doesn't require relationship with the Holy Spirit to me, and that feels a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I just feel like that can totally be right. However, I feel like there's more. It's a way deeper well. Your parable dream or whatever is way deeper than just Google's interpretation, or even biblical. This always means this in the Bible, or this always means this. Not always. Yeah. Like Jesus quoted scriptures out of context.
Totally.
Like there's weird. Like God can do whatever He wants in a sense. So we just have to know. And so there's no short and easy way out of it. Right. There's no like 3 steps to dream interpretation every time. And I think on one hand, it's a God-given thing, like Daniel 1:17, I believe. God gave Daniel understanding and interpretation in all dreams and visions. God gave it to him. So it's actually a gift. Like as we pray for and contend for healing, the gift of healing, as we pray and contend for words of knowledge, I think dream interpretation is, though it's not listed in the 1 Corinthians 12, 9, it's not included. There's hundreds of gifts. Yeah. And I think it's a relational thing with the Lord, which is part of the reason why I think it's parabolic, because it invites us into that dance. I think it's super frustrating at times, but it's a dance of connection, communion, and relationship, which is the whole goal of why we're here. It's not just some profound revelation that I can preach on Sunday or on a podcast. It's do you know him?
Yeah. I just
Perfect.
agree with everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like even because I know both of you very well, you know, if we're talking about personality typing or Enneagram 0-1 and Chet's a 3, so you are probably a little more prone to that analytical frustration.
Yeah.
Whereas I've probably, I'm a 2 with a wing 4, but I've been a little bit more like, oh, that was a cool dream. Write it down, move on. Probably maybe a little bit lazy about praying into it.
Okay.
But towards the end of a week or a month, it's more of like, oh, what a fun journal with me and Jesus. And I feel like the responsibility of how it all comes to be isn't even really heavy on my shoulders. But that's where I feel like there's been a huge submission in my life to Chet, is in dreams and dream interpretation, because sometimes I'll bring it to him and be like, this is this. And he's like, it's really interesting. This is what I got. And I'm like, wow, that's really good. Never even thought of that. And that's such a much more mature perspective than what I had. So for me, I feel like it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more just like that connection with God. Like, as long as he's talking to me, I'm good. Whether I get it all right or not such a big deal.
That's
so
awesome.
just, again, submitting to another perspective, or, and
That's
just being
awesome.
thankful how he's speaking to you.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
Yeah, everything you said, I would just agree with the relationship part of things. Because if God spoke everything plainly, we would just take that checklist and we would go apply it to life. And
Right,
that's
it would be the
you
law.
wanted to talk to me.
Right.
That's
It'd be the law again.
It's about this relationship, and that's why some of those funny images we see in dreams. I mean, I think really God is playful with us sometimes, and he's a little more, God wants to bring that sense of humor sometimes. We laugh about our dreams sometimes because they're just totally hilarious. And that's all very fun in the relationship, going back and forth with God.
Yep.
Yeah, and even I remember telling Chet for the first time, like, in my dream, this man kissed me on the cheek, and feeling like, am I supposed to feel shame? I don't get this. Why did I dream this? And he was like, oh, it's all about intimacy with that concept, or,
Yeah.
And it just, I was like, oh, now I can look back on all the 10 times that's happened and not feel weird about it, because he brought a totally different perspective to what was going on. So,
Wow.
I feel like there's a lot of room to play.
It's good. I think there's a process. And this is just something that so fascinates me, because the voice of God is the singularly greatest, most profound, life-giving substance and source, I think, ever. Like, guys, if God doesn't speak today, we're all like out of our mind and crazy. And like, I don't want to follow a God that doesn't speak. And the fact that he spoke and the worlds were created. And when he speaks today, to like in my own life or in a dream or whatever, it is, I mean, it's life substance. Like he said, my word is spirit and life in John 6:63. It's like my entire life revolves right now. I've thought extensively and even prayed extensively. My whole life revolves around this singular one factor of the fact that God speaks to me, and what he says is my bread. I don't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God, right? And that, like, learning his language. So for whatever reason, God chose not to sit across a table and do podcast style conversation and friendship. He could have. Like, he chose not to like be that. He chose to be spirit. And I think we have because I've also been frustrated in my own life of like, how do I connect and have a friendship with a Holy Spirit and a God who I can't touch and I can't be friends with, like I can be friends with Chet and Sherri or friends with my wife, or have that quality time dynamic. And of course, and I think what I've kind of the conclusion that I've come to is that for whatever reason, God chose the avenue, the highway of connection to be spirit. And I think we're so accustomed to visual touch, tactile. I think a lot of us are really numb in spirit.
Yeah.
And I think we maybe don't understand yet. And I talk absolutely to myself, but I'm trying to put the puzzle pieces together of like, okay, so he chose the number one avenue of connection to be in and through spirit.
Right.
I have a spirit. God is spirit. And therefore that's the opportunity. That's the contact point, if you will. And I think that whole realm, the spirit realm, hit God's language. There's a completely different value system, a completely different culture in the spirit. It's not American culture. It's not Jewish culture.
Yeah.
It's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
It's like kingdom of heaven culture, original design. I can't even touch the tip of the iceberg there, but that excites me.
Yeah.
That in a dream, you can start figuring out and interpreting and learning heaven's culture and how he speaks. And that's what a parable is. I think it's a window. You know, it's just like a perfect little window into heaven's value system and who God is and how he thinks.
Cool.
And because of that, too, I feel, I was talking to Chet's sister, who's at KC, part of a ministry there. She brought up a really cool point that dreams anchor us to unbelievers in a really cool way. You can have a conversation with anyone about their dreams, asking them about their dreams and their dream life, and all of a sudden, you're in this like prophetic conversation.
That's so true.
And everyone dreams, you know, and you get to like bring your revelation from yours and talk about theirs, and all of a sudden you're like anchored by something that is spirit.
That's awesome.
So that's really fun too. If we
that.
just started more conversations with, tell me about your dream life, you know?
I love that. I've done that on the
It's really cool.
streets from time to time. There will be distinct times where I can look at, you just look at someone who's not saved, but you can see the prophetic gift all over their life, and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah. And when they're actually awakened to...
And almost all those times, those people are dreaming because the gift and calling is without repentance. Like, it's irrevocable. You whether they're walking with the Lord or not, they're walking in that gift because it's a gift that God gave. And I've had some pretty amazing encounters with people on the street just doing exactly that. That's an awesome key. That's an awesome, what a bridge.
Yeah, totally.
That's great.
You can do treasure hunts. You can do, hey, I feel like God spoke to me. He said to look for a woman in a red sweater. That's fine, but that really singles them out. So hopefully then, there's a really fun encounter that makes them feel valued and seen. But to be able to speak into someone's dream life with love and maybe open their eyes to see what God is saying to them is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Tell me about how you guys steward your sleep. We could bridge into even some practicals because the day begins with the night. And I think there's a lot of people out there that actually don't sleep well at all.
Yeah.
And that, I think, stress, poor eating, environment. There's a myriad of different things that can actually steal your communion with the Holy Spirit at night because there's stuff out of alignment. And so there's really no separation between the secular, sacred, the practical, the natural, and the spirit. It's all so interconnected and interwoven. Yeah. It is ridiculous. Yeah. So how do you guys do that? How do you sleep well? Would you agree that that's an important key?
Yeah, you cultivate it. Absolutely. You steward sleep well. Yeah.
And that's something no one talks about. No one really talks about. They are talking about it in the health community, but not in the context of stewarding prophetic dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I've been in seasons where I haven't dreamed as much, and if I think back, it's usually because I'm getting up too early, not getting the right sleep, and my dreams are usually around 3 a.m. or before I wake up, whether it's 4 or 5.
Okay.
And if I start cutting my sleep short, just really practically, if I start getting less sleep, my dream life suffers. Or I don't remember my dreams, or I'm too tired to write them down in the night. I mean, really practically, like if you don't have a pen and pencil by your bed, or your notebook and your pencil by your bed, that's just one practical step that you might not be receiving all that you could. So I try to keep that practically there, because I have to write myself notes. You know, if I wake up with a dream, I usually try to write it down.
You got to jot something down. That's a huge key as well, because that simple little step of, I'm gonna prepare for this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build it, and then they'll come.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a statement of faith and expectation that I'm gonna put a notepad and a pen by my nightstand, and it's gonna live there, because when I dream, that sucker's going on that piece of paper. I think God honors that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, just being able to, and then there's times when I intentionally said, no, I'm going to sleep a little longer, and that's often when I get a little more significant dreams, because God honors rest.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I try to work too hard and get up too early to get things done, sometimes I go backwards, because God works more when I'm sleeping than I can when I'm awake sometimes.
Shundai. Wow.
And I mean, God saved me so much time and money. I talked about money before. Like
Multiple
sometimes,
times
if I would just slow down and listen, I would save myself so much time, money, and ground that I thought I had to cover when I really didn't.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be my personality type too.
Right. Yeah. Any ideas?
I've always been the complete opposite with Chet, so I don't ever worry about the pen or paper. If I have a dream, I'll wake up right away. And most of my dreams, I don't know what the percentage.
Do you choose to wake up, or do you wake up right after unconsciously?
If it's
But do you choose it? Because
no,
you don't choose it.
I often can't go back to sleep because I'll be chewing on it for so long.
Oh, okay.
But most of my dreams, I want to say 80% or more, are for other people. So I'll have the dream, wake up. If it's pretty significant, I often find I'm just chewing on it. I don't know another word to say for another hour or so. Go back to sleep. Then the next day I find it's usually right there in my mind, and I'll often just ponder it before I release it to somebody. So I do write my dreams down for me, but I voice memo my dreams for people. And then that's kind of my way of getting them down. And then I feel like sometimes the longer I chew on it in the morning, the more...
Hey, honey, tell people about Patreon.
Sorry, I had to break really quickly. If you like the Wise Life Blueprint, which, if you're watching this...
What is going on?
Sir, please stay off the road. If you like the Wise Life Blueprint, which I'm sure you do if you're watching this, you should subscribe. You should donate $1 a month.
And subscribe.
Because you don't want us to become broke-ass millennials, because my husband's doing a podcast full-time.
And it takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time.
And it's silly, but we love it.
But yeah. So yeah, do that.
And usually it's just whatever God wants me to remember, I'll remember. Anything other than that, I don't worry about. So, that's good. Yeah, but then you were talking practically, like, I think too, Chet's like a physical therapist. You know, chiropractors will say, buy this bed. We did invest in a new bed last year, but we actually didn't break the bank over it. It was from Amazon. It was a memory foam. We actually managed to buy a separate topper.
Okay.
And it made all the world of difference for us.
Okay.
And I just feel like we love our bed. It's like our haven. It's clean. It's ready.
You spend a third of your life in that sucker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
our diffuser's by the bed. Like, we love it. Every night, we're just like, oh, this is so good, So just your space, our space.
It's so important.
Yeah, I like to keep our bedroom simple and neat because it is more of a haven, I think, at night.
That's good.
we're pretty big on the, watching blue light, or often if we have a date night, I'll actually say we can watch a movie if it's before 5 p.m., but if it's after, I just know it'll affect my sleep. So I'm kind of a sucker about not watching like action flicks before bed. Or
it sounds silly, but we're so accustomed to not shutting off screens that you don't even know that your standard and quality of sleep and how quickly you fall asleep is like deeply deficient.
Not just screens, but
that's
lights.
my experience. Light, yes.
My kids know, like, if your light is bright, I'm not coming in your room to hug you, because like I've been in my room and it's been dark for half an hour and I'm just letting my eyes like adjust. So I think it's a big deal.
Like, if you think about it, I heard actually recently that before the invention of the light bulb, that we slept 11 hours a night.
Yeah.
Before the invention of the light bulb. And so, like, for generations and millennia, we have been, like, creatures of the sun. Really, like, up with the daylight, down with the sunset. And that circadian rhythm is deeply ingrained, I think, into our DNA. And so silly, stupid little things like shutting off, dimming all the lights in the house. Like, I literally put a super dim lamp in my windowsill in our bathroom because my wife and I are standing in the bathroom brushing our teeth at night, and it's these glaring, terrible, massive overhead lights. And I'm like, I can feel my body trying to wake up.
Totally.
Like, light has a profound effect on your body, period.
The hormonal release, absolutely.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. I think I'm kind of I always watch how hydrated I am. If your kidneys are suffering, you're going to be up several times a night to pee. I think if your kidneys are clean and your liver's functioning well, you should be able to hydrate well and mostly sleep all through the night without having to get up. So I think even your body functions affect your sleep, and that ties into health.
Interesting. So if you're dehydrated, you will get up more to pee?
No, I'm saying if you could be as hydrated as you want. Maybe you drank a gallon and that was your thing. But I think that some people can actually be really hydrated and still not have to pee all night. And it just has to do with how your kidneys are processing your intake and
the timing of your intake too.
Yep.
I'm just really practically like drink more in the morning and don't drink so much before bed.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
And get your hydration from food, right? Like raw plants, and that's the best hydration for your body. So
how did Sherri bring this back to health?
I just said that's a whole other facet of health, and we don't have to go there.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, so magnesium at night. Simple.
Good,
simple application. Essential oils, cedarwood.
We do a magnesium spray.
Yeah.
It's just like a spray on your skin, and it's like an osmosis thing. And that's great.
Yeah.
I think a couple things that have totally changed the game on sleep. I sleep good.
Oh yeah.
Like I sleep so good. I protect my sleep. I have energy all through the day. Consistency. Dr. Matthew Walker actually is a university professor, PhD at UC Berkeley. He's a amazing sleep scientist. So if people are interested in like the practicals of sleep, I mean, he spent 20, 30 years. He just wrote a book. Incredible guy. So go listen to that because he'll talk better than we will. But something that I do, so 63 degrees is the optimal sleep temperature. So we'll actually turn our AC on and then open the windows. And if it's cool, obviously, it'll just cool down. The AC will shut off on its own. We have our fan going always.
Yeah.
Sleeping like in cold.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like totally a game changer.
Totally.
I don't know what it is, but your body it has something to do with your body temperature actually naturally dropping.
Yeah.
You know, in order to actually go into deep sleep.
We always apologize to our company for that. Chet's parents come and we're like, oh, sorry, it's cold in here.
Totally.
Yeah.
So my wife and I will do the sauna and then cold tub or cold shower right after. So that hot and cold is this like, I mean, it's doing so much. There's a myriad of things going on there, but your body temperature spiking and then dropping off. Incredible setup for relaxing your entire body. Not everyone has access to a sauna, but you could totally hop in a cold shower an hour before sleep, and that temperature drop actually really, really helps. My experience. I've also heard. Have you guys heard of raising the head of your bed 3 inches?
No,
4 inches.
For me, it's the feet, like to actually
raise the feet.
Yeah, to bring the blood back to the head. So.
Oh, I've heard the exact opposite.
Yeah, interesting. So I've got some little furniture pad
I'll have to
things
look into that. Okay.
under the foot of our bed. But you don't want to sleep like that all the time.
All the
I have
time.
some circulation things I'm working through in my legs, and I think that's where people have gravity boards or slant boards and that kind of thing. But
okay.
Anyway, you can play around with what works.
Yeah, that's great.
And just buy the furniture pads. You don't need to buy an electric bed, and then you just put them under, the head or the feet.
Okay.
Bump it up a couple.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. I wonder if it does different things.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, it's got to. Yeah, it has to.
Of course, when you're upside down. But you do want to be careful with inversions before bed or back bends. Like if you're stretching, I'd say stretch into the hips and the hip flexors. But when you're stretching your back or doing back bends or extensions, you're gonna actually release more, not adrenaline, but energy. Like it's more of a
Just feel more energized.
stimulating. Yeah. So I try to avoid that before bed. But
That's good.
yeah.
2 options. 1, we could just tell some dreams, and I feel like when I listen to other people's dreams, it gives me a window into this is how God's speaking, and when you just talk about it, more happens. So we could talk about some dreams that you guys are having, I'm having, or we could talk more interpretation, understanding. What do you guys think? Do you have anything else to say?
I feel like I have so many dreams, but I'm blanking on anything. Do you have any fun ones you want to share?
The first one, we kind of referenced to it earlier, the just being stuck in the mud one. That's one just for
that was
personally.
recent, yeah.
And then
It was fairly recent.
on the stove.
Yeah.
Another experience of
Yeah.
that.
So tell it really quick,
that was in the
and then
past.
let's.
It was Sherri's dream.
Okay.
I had
one
a
being stuck in
dream.
the mud, but it was for me.
Yeah,
I was
we were driving down a country road, and I saw a big mud puddle coming up. It was across the road, and I told Chet to turn around before he got stuck in the mud. And
So that's an interesting thing, because turn around versus go around it.
yeah, it wasn't a
Or-
warning like you're going to get stuck.
Right.
I said turn around or you're going to get stuck in the mud.
Yeah. So for me, it's it was hard to know. There wasn't any direction in Sherri's dream, particularly about exactly what area of my life that applied to. But she knew, because it's in that context, what were we going through in life?
Yeah.
At the current moment.
Yeah.
She knew. I was a little hesitant to.
You were going through some stuff at work.
Yeah.
Right.
So it applied to some work things in my life, and I was a little hesitant to be firm on exactly what it applied to. But usually, just listen to your wife, because she knew.
What's interesting? At the very same time, my mom had a dream for Chet where he was wearing white shoes, and he was in mud, but his shoes were perfectly white. And she woke up with encouragement for him, you're going to keep integrity. And it starts at your foundation, and it's going to stay integral throughout.
Wow.
And it was encouragement for the same thing I was telling him to turn around and avoid. She had a dream that was encouraging his integrity.
Wow.
So isn't that interesting? At the same time, God was using someone else to bless any doubt of identity or did I miss something? He's speaking directly to the integrity that, Chet upholds. So it's interesting.
That's awesome. That's so powerful. One of my favorite dreams, I was processing this, and I think I've told you guys this dream over dinner, but we'll see. I think one of my favorite type of prophetic dream is probably word of knowledge dreams that happen the next day, or something that's about to happen or just happened, or prophetic revelation dreams where God gives you an exact blueprint map, particularly in warfare seasons. I've had some crazy spiritual warfare seasons or going through something horrendous and super difficult where I will be at the end of my rope and I will have a dream that exposes and unpacks the entire thing. And not even that the situation gets better immediately or right away, but it's deeply encouraging. You feel like you have a sense of direction, and if you know like where to aim yourself, it's kind of over, because if you don't give up, you win.
Yeah.
And like for me, I think the hardest thing is not knowing which step to go in next. Like Bill Johnson talks about, the hardest part for him of the Christian life is, do I lay down, rest, and let Jesus fight my battle, or stand up, decree, declare, take the armor, take the sword, and go like David and Goliath on some homies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that he hasn't figured it out. But dreams, I think, really exposed that. So this is years ago. This was like my third year in Bethel. I was about to hit my third year at Bethel. I was 2.5 years into every day panic attacks, anxiety, depression. I was on medication, and terrified of my own inner world. Like, I actually never thought I would be free. And even the fact that I'm sitting here and it's like zero part of my life, and I don't ever think about it. And like this, I thought this was going to be like my portion forever. Because when you're in something like that for so long, you just can't see anything else.
No.
And it's a weird, and I was faithful. Like, I believe in God. I didn't believe that was my portion. I was speaking and declaring the opposite, but I was just exhausted, and shame, because I should, as a good spirit-filled Christian, like be able to get, pray myself out of this, or this isn't who I am in Christ, and all this died on the cross, which is all true. It's just the assimilation of all those things that can be a little bit confusing. So I have a dream where I am swimming across a lake. I'm with a group of friends. We're playing a game, like a water game. Swimming across the lake. I end up going to kind of an opposite side of the lake, away from my friends. There's this beautiful forest, like golden sun rays shining through. I'm going to get this ball that's over there. So I'm out of the water, walking through the forest. I'm going to walk back along the shore of the lake to where the friends are. And a cougar, black cougar, a jet black cougar, out of nowhere, like it's a serene dream, out of nowhere, lunges out of the bushes, attaches itself to my body, and I'm wrestling it on the ground, wrestling. I managed to get behind the cougar, and I get it into a chokehold, and I am, in my dream, every ounce of strength that I have choking this cougar. And then a narrator starts narrating my
Like a
dream.
movie.
Yes. So the narrator's voice said, Curtis was wrestling the cougar, but he did not have the strength to kill it. And I was strangling it, but I literally, I didn't have enough strength to crush its windpipe. So it could still breathe. And so the narrator says, Curtis doesn't have the strength to kill it. And then the narrator says, but the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And then it paused. And when he said the Lion of the tribe of Judah, this cliff, this silver lion, it was silver, walked down like Aslan would, but it was better because it was not, it was I don't know, it was totally the Lord. Walked down and stood there and started speaking things like wisdom, redemption. And as the words would come out of his mouth, it would become like a ticker tape, like a substance word, and started filling the screen of my, I don't know, of my dream. It was started filling the air. So the words became literal things. It's stuff like redemption and wisdom and hope and these, and the words were silver as well.
Silver lining.
And so when the line started speaking, then the cougar literally just vanished. It was literally gone. And that was the dream. And I woke up and I realized in that moment that I was trying so hard to kill my own anxiety and fight my own battle and figure this thing out and like wrestle this thing and stranglehold it, and I hated it and I didn't want it in my life anymore, and I literally didn't have the authority or the strength to do that. And it was when I let go, laid down, surrendered, and just had my focus and attention on the one, that it was like, oh, this isn't even an issue anymore. And that's exactly what's happened in my life. I'm more emotionally healthy than I've ever been, and I'm trying so much less than when I was all those years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a dream that
really cool.
comes to mind. Your turn, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, I just like how the lion was silver, and I heard like silver lining. It's like a play on the word lion even, and how it referenced almost like a movie. Because don't they talk about that in playbooks, the silver lining of like when they announce different the movie, like theater and stuff like that. I just feel like that's an interesting theme. You know, I wonder how that's going to carry out through your life.
That's good.
That playbook.
That's good.
Trying to think of what I didn't share last time or what has been fun.
Anything recent?
Yeah, I'm not
Well, a lot of the dreams you have for others you're not going to share.
Well, no.
So it's like some of the...
I just get a lot of joy when there's a dream for somebody else because, man, I don't even have to know the person well. But if God can just... I feel the biggest thing I keep hearing people say is I feel known. I feel so known by Him.
And you told God, like you promised God, no matter what it looked like and how weird it seemed, if you got a significant dream for someone, you were going to tell them. And there's been numerous times where you've told me, okay, this one's too weird. This one does not make sense.
Wow.
But then you were obedient and you told the person anyway, and it made sense to someone else when it had made no sense to you. But it was cool. Your obedience was cool.
Yeah. And I think it's been so incredible because our kids are coming to us for the first time in their life, and without us asking, did you have a dream? They're like, hey, Mom, I had a dream last night. It's happened multiple times this month on all 4 of the kids. And I'm like, hey, tell me. And they're like, well, it's kind of weird. I'm like, tell me. And especially with our oldest, we've just been like, oh my goodness, she's having these incredibly prophetic dreams.
Wow.
And all of them are, and it's really fun because they're coming to us on their own accord. And so just the fact that it's cultivated in our home as being a normal part of you wake up and what did God say in the night? That's just been really fun.
Okay, so how have you done that as well? Real quick.
We took Chris Valentin's advice on it. I feel like from years ago, he had a prophetic dream sermon at Bethel.
Yeah. Okay.
And prophetic.
And what did he say? He's like, just talk about it.
Just make it normal. Wake up. Kids, what did you dream about? Tell me. No dream is too silly.
Whoa.
And that's usually... that's the last thing. I know for Jaden, like our oldest daughter, that's the last thing I say to her at night. And that's the last thing she says to me.
Yeah, last night she did to me too.
Have great dreams from God, or I hope you have good dreams from the Lord.
You'll speak it.
That's the last thing we say to each other before we go to bed. And then, it's maybe not the first thing we say, but we always are asking each other, what did you dream last night? Yeah,
she's coming in and saying, Mom, did you have any dreams last night? And sometimes I'm busy. I'm like, oh, yeah, and then I'm looking at them and they're like, Mom, I want to know. And it's like, well, I can't share everything with you, but I had this. What do you think of this? And that's just happened as a natural byproduct of, I guess, us talking about them or sharing them. And so it's just really fun. So get your kids, find out your kids' dreams. They might have a pretty incredible word for the family or, their own life. So.
Wow. I'm fired up.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
This was awesome. How can people find you, follow you, tell people where you're at, what you do?
Second service at Jesus Culture. Come find me.
Great.
Chet and I are both on Instagram.
Okay.
Sherri.Yoder.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have a website, ourhealthculture.com.
Okay. Great.
Our like OUR.
Yeah.
Ourhealthculture.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on that, and we just love talking with people, hanging out with people. It's really good to help hear and help people on whatever health journey they're going through. It's fun.
Yep.
Love it.
I love to hear when people are saying they're having more dreams, and let's just keep that conversation going at Jesus Culture locally, and then if we need to through internet, it's really fun.
Love it.
Thank you, Curtis.
Shundai. Wow. Let's go have dreams.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Curtis.
Love it. That's awesome, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Thank
I'm sorry I didn't have words.
And how am I supposed to wear
Oh,
these
no,
old
it's
clothes
fine.
when you made me brand new? They didn't fit anymore. Yeah.
It's all right. I know it's good for you.
I don't know that I love it anymore, but I love you.
And you love all the people that
Yeah, when people come up, and that is interesting. They're like,
that blows my
I
mind.
actually, but I'm like, okay,